10:03.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. We still have a few members that are in another committee meeting that should be here shortly. Senator Shelnutt being one of those who has the bill, so we will rearrange our schedule this morning. Senator Figures, it is glad to have you. We're glad to have you back this morning. We're glad to have you in our committee meeting again this morning.
I am so happy to be back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, let's get started. Clerk, we call the roll, please.
Senator Butler, Senator Figures, Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Price, Senator Shelnutt, Senator Smitherman, Senator Stutz, Senator Chastain.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. We're ready to get started. Members, if you will, Senator Shelnutt, like I said, is in a committee meeting, and he has the first bill. So we're going to go ahead and go down to the second bill on the calendar this morning. That is Senate Bill 217. I'm handling that bill.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
At the proper time, I move for a report on your bill.
Okay. Thanks, Senator Smitherman. This bill would just basically give these teachers, it's going to help us with our teacher shortage, first of all. Teachers that are paraprofessionals right now that are aides in the classroom, they can get 1 year of service for every 2 years that they've served as an aide once they become a certified teacher. And, you know, they have to have a minimum of 4 years as an aide to qualify for this. So we have a motion, have a second. I'm sorry, we do have an amendment.
I withdraw it and let the amendment.
Okay, let's go ahead and adopt the amendment.
I move.
Move to adopt the amendment, okay. Second, okay. Any objections using the previous roll we have? Good roll? We have a roll. Okay, seeing none, so the amendment is adopted. Okay, we're on to the bill now. Do you hear a motion?
So move.
Okay,
That's an amendment.
okay, so moved, second by Senator Butler. Okay, let's call a roll. Let's get a good roll, make sure.
Senator Butler, Senator Chastain,
Aye.
Senator Figures,
Yeah, she got it.
Senator Gudger, Senator Hatcher, Senator Hovey, Senator Price, Senator Shelnutt, Senator Smitherman, Senator Stutz. 6-0.
Okay, 6-0, bill given a favorable report as amended. Okay, moving on to the next bill on the calendar, HB 113, Representative Warren. Do I see her? Okay, if I don't see her, I'll go ahead and handle that for her. We've had this bill for the last 3 years in this committee. This is the first grade readiness bill. There are approximately 4,000 to 5,000 kids that do not attend a public kindergarten. And for those students that are coming into first grade, they would be required to take an assessment to make sure that they are ready for first grade. And if they're not, they will go to kindergarten. And I think the importance of that bill for us right now is the fact that we have full implementation of the Literacy Act. And I think it's important that we get that good foundation for them if they're not ready for first grade. Senator Smitherman.
Whenever you get through, I'd like to be recognized.
You're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, it's been well known that I oppose this bill, and I've said it for many reasons. One of the reasons I'm going to say it here as well is that we are not, in my opinion, and I've done some research here with the ability that we have here to do research. If we implemented this bill, we're not ready for it. We don't have the classrooms, we don't have the teacher units, we don't have anything. And all at the schools that do have those, what we're looking at is potentially that instead of the classroom size being 21 or 22, whatever that number is, we're going to look at 30 plus people in the class. And these are people that we are saying we want to identify that need help, and we don't have the help in place. It's just cosmetically, it looks beautiful that we are trying to do that because of the reason, but we're not set up to do it. and then until we get set up, all we doing is just going to be the penalty. The person who's going to be penalized is these kids, not because of what we are saying, but they're going to be penalized because we are not even equipped now. We've isolated them and not going to be able to do that. And so I've in opposition. I'm in serious opposition of this bill. Of course, that's known, you know. I'm just being honest, you know, because you know y'all my colleagues, and you need to know, you know, my serious opposition will start Thursday against this bill, you know, because until we put things in place. And at least the body had the foresight to put a little something in place with the literacy when we had COVID-19 by delaying that, you know, and yet and still we're going to see the effects now of COVID once that we doing this test, that these kids are not ready even in all this work because we haven't been able to give them the necessary help that they need because of COVID and other reasons that unfortunately happened. This situation, as I said earlier, is that we are not ready to even do this. Not that even if I agree with it or not, we are not ready and set up to do what we are getting ready to do. So I just wanted to share that with the Mr. Chairman about my position on here and my additional reasons why. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Smithman. Senator Stutz, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was wondering if there's anybody from the State Department of Education that was here that could address what this level of readiness is that he's talking about.
Do you have anyone from the State Department? Come on up. You have the mic. Okay, Tina, good.
Could you address what Senator Smitherman's saying about we're not ready to implement any of this? And, you know, this bill's been talked about for a long time. I'm wondering what your perspective on how ready we are, and if we're not ready, why aren't we ready?
Whitney has one for you.
For knowing when the students are ready or not. I know this has been discussed for many years as far as from talking with our ARI group who does the reading readiness and all the people that are involved with early childhood education as well.
Yeah, I guess my question is along the line with Senator Smitherman. If we find out they're not ready, then what happens? So if we're just identifying that we're not ready, but we're not helping them get them ready, then we're not doing them any good.
Well, I think that's what to be able to be ready for the first one. And so that's exactly what we're trying to do. It's able to show that they're ready, they're able to advance forward, and if they are not ready, then they would need to go through a kindergarten to be able to be ready.
I think if I can make a comment real quick, in the bill itself, it says as long as a child demonstrates first grade entry readiness on an assessment of essential developmental and physical skills which will be developed by the State Department of Education. And they shall publish this information about essential first grade readiness skills on the website. Okay, thank you, Ms. Hammonds. Okay, Senator Smitherman, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm talking about, let me say this to you. We, and I think that I am accurate in this statement, we don't even fully fund K now in every system. We don't even fully fund it. Am I right? I think I'm pretty accurate on that, that every system in this state is not funded to the level they need to have a K program.
I don't have any specific numbers
That's okay.
on that.
I know I'm right on that, okay, on that part. All right, we have some places that don't even have room additional. They're trying to find trailers. They're trying to do everything. Yeah, you know, I mean, I know I'm accurate with what I'm saying. So that's in part the readiness, as I'm saying. I'm not talking about you taking a test or do you have a test to show this or show that. Even if you have a test to show it, now, you test show it, we got X amount of students. We're not ready. That's my point. I'm not making you verify because, you know, I'm just, I asked, but by you saying not sure, and I understand that, I'm sure. We're not ready to do this.
Well, I know we're always pushing.
You all are ready for testing them,
Yes, sir.
but we're not set up to hound them after in terms of the schools itself. I'm not talking about y'all in your work. I'm talking about where they gonna go. The additional teacher units, to keeping the class size the way it's supposed to be, having the tutoring people in place, because if somebody you said has a deficiency, we got to go beyond just a regular class setting to help them. And the reason I'm saying we don't have it in place, because we ain't budgeted it for y'all for that. It's
Yes, sir.
nothing in these budgets since I've been in here that has a budget specifically so that these schools that need to build additional rooms on can build them on, can put the equipment in, can have the teachers' units, transportation, because now you have a whole new set of people that you got to have transportation in place for. So that's what I'm making reference to. It's a total disservice to identify this student if you do and can't do nothing to help them other than stick them in, pack them in classes that 30 and 40 people and you don't have extra people there to do it. Now we asking the teacher to have 30 of them, and these 30 folks who, by you all definition, can't even, need extra help. So that's what I'm making reference to, Mr. Chairman, that we don't have, it looks pretty to the I was just looking on my paper. It looked pretty on the story that somebody may print that was the day we passed this, not the day we passed this, but the penalty is going to be for every one of those kids worse off than they would have been then and a grade behind. So
Respectfully, I'm not sure that that's exactly what would happen. I know that we would have to provide services for all of the children that come. It's a little bit more about the placement and the correct services for that individual child. And so as far as...
I take issue with that. It's more about having somewhere to do this with them. I mean, yeah, you can play, okay, they're supposed to be placed here. I understand that, but that's what you do.
Yes, sir.
That's and I'm not questioning what you do, but how we're going to be able to take care of them goes beyond what you do in terms of your assessment test, whether it's valid or not, and that kind of stuff.
Well, we're always open to extra funding for our K-3 opportunities, always, infrastructure and instructions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Hammonds. Thank you, Senator Figures.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, these are parents who've already chosen not to send their children to kindergarten. So what happens when they come and you assess them and the assessment shows that they're still not ready to go into first grade? What if that parent still chooses not to allow their child to go into kindergarten?
I'm not sure that we've actually walked through the traps on that, me personally at least, but my understanding would be that they would need to be able to have that proficiency before they would go forward. And so, we're looking at these things in other areas as well, like with the third grade retention for the literacy piece. We're trying to make sure that these young children are capable of moving forward at each level. And so I would believe that they would need to be ready, which means that the public school would need to defer them to the kindergarten.
But the parent would still have that choice as to whether or not to go into a kindergarten program or keep them out again.
I believe so, until they're of the age that they would have to go to school, but then that's when the readiness would come into play, and so.
So you're saying that if they don't ever pass that readiness test, they will not be allowed to start?
No, I believe that at the appropriate age, they would have to go on, I believe.
I just think that everything should be specified in the bill, that there will be no room for multiple interpretations or for people who are in positions at the time to make what they feel is right. But if it's specific in the law, then all of the children will be treated the same.
I think it's my understanding that a child who is 6 on or before the particular date, which I think is 12/31, who has not successfully completed K, would be able to enroll into the first grade with the successful completion of a screening that would be developed by
That's
the
my whole
department.
point. If the child never passes that screening, what happens to that child? Is that child forever, not allowed to come into the system?
Certainly not true. I'm just not sure exactly what the mechanics would be.
And I'm just saying, if you're putting it in this bill, that needs to be addressed. As I'm hearing the conversation with Senator Smitherman, this
What
is
to do
coming
at
to
that
me.
point, yes, ma'am.
You gotta, I guess, for lack of a better term, be devil's advocate in what if, what could.
Absolutely.
Because we want to try to save every child. Now, but I'm glad you mentioned that third grade literacy deal with the reading. I'm getting a lot of comments and opinions from people, even professionals, in that area of education, who are talking about this reading test that's being given to the kids that's really not a doable test or a reality, that there are some educated people who couldn't even pass this test, or things are not so clear. So
I'm not sure that we would align or agree with that, but I do know there are multiple pathways that a child can use to get to that promotion. I do not have my notes in front of me about what the specifics are on them, but it can have to do with their performance, with their ability to pass an assessment, and with more of a global look at where the child is in their development with reading. So there are multiple pathways, not just the test.
do you have any stats thus far since that's been implemented?
Well, it will be implemented. We do have statistics about where it looks like on the breaks, and we can definitely get that for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thanks, Senator Figures. I think there's been some good comments here this morning that I think before we get this bill to the floor, we need to be able to address some of those comments. And see, Ms. Hammonds, thank you for your comments. Okay, do hear a motion for a favorable? Senator Hovey, hear a second? Senator Figures, okay. All right, call the roll, please.
Senator Butler? Aye. Senator Chastain?
Aye.
Senator Figures? Senator Gudger? Senator Hatcher? Senator Hovey? Senator Price? Senator Shelnut? Senator Smitherman? Senator Stutz?
Okay, 5-1, bill's given a favorable report. Senator Figures?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Warren, you're here, and you did not, we do have your word that you're willing to work with those on those specificities that we spoke about, right?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
I'm always open, Senator Figures, to try to make this work. And the reason that I'm trying to do it, I just wanted to give you some figures this morning to let you know where we are. Hold on just a minute. Where we are in trying to prepare these kids for first grade readiness. In 2021, we had 3,569 kids to repeat first grade. In 2022, we had 3,582 students to repeat first grade. In 2023, we had 3,487 students to repeat first grade. So that
Of
was
those, let me ask you, Mr. Mann, of those numbers you just gave us, how many in those numbers actually went to kindergarten? Do you have that stat?
I don't have that stat.
So that's how you compare apples to apples. Because if you're saying they got to go through kindergarten in order for them to be successful in first grade, if all 3,000 of those kids went to kindergarten and they still repeated the first grade, then what are we doing? I just like to know the other part of that.
I'll check
that
with,
number.
I got these figures from the Department of Education.
Yeah.
And I will go back and
Yeah, how
ask
many
them.
of those actually went through
Right,
kindergarten?
because like I said, I'm going to talk with you afterwards so we can see about your amendment that
Thank you.
you were talking about. And another thing
Senator
I want to
Figures.
explain
I'm
was,
sorry. Go ahead.
when we do the assessment, we're talking about just simple math skills, and y'all, I can't do this, is to recognize shapes, squares, circles, understand positions, recognize colors, count from 1 to 10, in the fine motor skills, knows how to hold scissors, pencils, cut with scissors. The gross motor skills would be how to walk backwards, how to walk up and down steps. Some of the social skills would be clean up after the activities, speak to an adult with understanding, follow simple directions. So it's not anything complicated that we're trying to deal with the students. We just want to make sure that they have these basic things out of the way, like standing in line, raising their hand to ask for permission, eating on a tray. When you put a kid in a situation who's never been exposed to this, you're going to have some problems on your hand. Not only the student, but the student is going to have some problems. So this is nothing that we're trying to complicate for the student. We're just trying to make sure that that student has the basic, simple skills it's going to take for him to go and sit in the first grade and be able to comprehend and be successful in first grade.
Representative Warren, I too would like to see those numbers. If we could get the State Department to give us an actual number of how many of those children that repeated first grade were in a public kindergarten as well. I think that would be very helpful for us to know, to have, okay?
Okay.
Senator Smithman.
Also in those numbers, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to know of those students who didn't, whether they even had an opportunity, whether their school, whether the community even provided free K through K education. And I'd also like to know in the proper content, when we talk about 3,000 people, out of how many students that actually go to school in this whole state. I think that we will find out that that is a very small nominal amount in relationship to the population, as if we are treating it like it's a crisis, that it's 20 or 30% of our population and we've got to do something. So I would like both of those numbers to be given to you.
Yeah.
And if you would share those with me as well, I would appreciate it.
Representative Warren, I'll work with you on those numbers, okay? Get them to our committee, okay? All right, the bill has been given a favorable report. The next bill up, Senator Shelnut is, I'll handle this bill for him. Call the bill. Okay. All right, this is, let's see, Senate Bill 143. Okay, there's an amendment to this bill. If you will look on page, it says replace line 166 through 167 on page 6 with the following, and you have that amendment there before you. 160. That's on page 6. Yes, sir.
So it's the only content of this bill is that we're putting the sex crime on a student in here.
Yes, sir.
Other than that, is it anything else different to your knowledge about it?
The reporting, the way I read the bill, you know, if a teacher knows that something has taken place inappropriate, they have to report that to their principal. The principal then in writing to the superintendent and so forth. If it's a crime, that would be call for the revocation of this teacher's certificate. And also in here, let me find this real quick because this was something that is important. It says the bill would also provide a criminal penalty for knowingly failing to file a report with the intent to conceal an allegation of misconduct that is required to report.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did, Mr.
Senator Figures?
But where does law enforcement come in? Is law enforcement a part of it prior to copies of the report? Because the report is coming from the,
State Department,
right.
the state superintendent.
So did someone call law enforcement to report it first because they have to?
I need to read this myself.
Yeah, it needs to be on record to report it to who they're giving the copies to if they became involved. But if they haven't been called or gotten involved prior to, what's going to be the reason for them getting
Let me try to read this line here and
copies
try to
of-
put it into
yeah.
context if I can.
You get what I'm saying?
I do. I'm trying to follow that. I'll get an answer for you on that. Senator Stutz, you have a comment?
And I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I was noticing the failure to meet the deadline to file the report
Within 7
is a
days?
Class C felony.
Within 7 days, is it? Okay.
I mean, that's pretty steep. You miss the deadline and it's a Class C
That
felony.
is.
Mr. Chairman, I think this bill, with all the questions and the sincerity of it, I think if we could carry this over, and the sponsor's not here to answer the questions, if we could
I would
carry it
agree.
over for
I
now.
would agree with that. You raised some questions that I can't answer in handling this for him. So if that's okay, I'd rather carry this bill over.
I just thought, reading through it,
You're right.
a principal doesn't get to report in on time, and
Right.
it's
Right.
a Class C felony. I thought that was pretty steep.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. All right, we'll just carry this bill over till Senator Shelnutt can be here and answer the questions that the committee has, okay? Any other questions from the committee members? That's all the bills that we have on our agenda for today. Thank you all. And we will meet, we have several bills that we have to get to yet, so when we come back after break, we're still going to keep working, okay? Thank you, members. We're adjourned.